So hello and welcome back to episode 12 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. I'm back with Andrew Blair-White for a 12th week, Andrew, and we usually start with performance of the weekend, but we're going to have a look back at the performance of the last week because it cut up badly this weekend. No Cheltenham, of course, but we had a backlog of Irish racing, and we'll start with yourself. Performance of the last week.
Well, there was a few notable ones in there. Obviously, Allaho beating Ellie May in the race down in Thurles was very good from those two, I thought. But I was actually very taken with a horse today now at Naas. I was very taken by that Eclat de Rear of Henry de Bromhead's. Thought he jumped super out in front. I thought that was a pretty good race. Iscaria 10 is a very good horse. Pencil full of lead brought good form to the table as well. So I thought that was a very impressive performance. I'm sure they'll go to the RSA, and I know the RSA, it has obviously a very hot favourite. Latest Exhibition probably is a very solid each way option, but there's not much else to that race, I don't think. I don't think there's an awful lot of depth. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they went down that option, and he wouldn't be far from the frame in my eyes based off that performance today.
My performance of the week was at Thurles as well, Andrew, and it was in the novice hurdle race. Now, Toriograph won a maiden at Fairyhouse previous. He'd 4 spins and bumpers, a 6-year-old, and he looks to me to has the ideal profile for the Albert Bartlett. Gordon has other options for the handicaps and the likes of the Martin Pipe, and I think Toriograph will go to the Albert Bartlett. He's probably going to go up to a UK mark of in the low 140s, which is perfect for this race. Now, Monkfish obviously won this race last year. The Storyteller has also won this race. So this race does throw up horses that go and win at Cheltenham festivals. And I think this Toriograph, I was taken by him. You know, got one slap and away, and he was so strong at the line. I think he's an Albert Bartlett type. And he's not my pick for this week, Andrew, but he certainly will be on my short list. So, Andrew, questions from underneath last week. Jody Powers has been asking this question for 2 weeks in a row. We never answered them last week. We did promise we'd answer this week. If there was 2 favourites at the festival that you wanted to take on at this stage, who are they? I'll tell you, we'll both answer it, but we'll go with yourself first.
Geez, it is a very tough one. I think just looking at the market at the moment, actually, this is one that may cause a bit of controversy. But I'd take on Concertista in the Mares Hurdle. I know you've put her up as one of your 2-point bankers, but I just think she's a bit vulnerable at 2.5 miles. I prefer to see her in a champion hurdle. I've said that all day or all year. And to be honest, the one that really gets me, and it's topical now based off today, I can't have Billaway at 3-1 for a Fox Hunters whatsoever. I know he might be the best hunter chaser engine-wise in there, but God, his jumping at Naas today was absolutely useless. And his jumping at Cheltenham last year was pretty pants as well. He'd want to jump an awful lot better because you just can't get away with it in those Cheltenham races, jumping the way he's been doing. There's no doubt in the engine. If he was to put a decent round together, yes, of course, he could win a Fox Hunters easily, but the way he's been jumping this year wouldn't inspire you that even though they're getting a lot of runs into him to give him experience, he doesn't seem to be learning on the job, I don't think. And I'd be prepared to take him on at 3-1 in that race.
Mm-hmm. First up for me, Galvin, 5-1 for the National Hunt Chase. I mean, what are people seeing that they can think that he's going to get 4 miles around Cheltenham? No, it's 3 miles and 6 furlongs. He's very, very short. It's mainly on price, Andrew. I think everyone seems to be mentioning Galvin since last October, and obviously he went and won at Cheltenham, and we haven't seen him since. But I mentioned Iscaria 10, Royal Pegeel. I would think that this is probably the likely, race for him. Willie's probably going to. At the minute, it's not clear maybe what horse Willie will have in this, and maybe Patrick Mullins might ride Royal Pegeel. Next destination, I think probably will go for the RSA Chase, but you're looking down at maybe Welsh National winner as the likes of Secret Reprieve. I think this race is a tough race to win. At 5-1, Galvin hasn't done enough for me to be making a 5-1 shot for a grueling test at Cheltenham. And look, he didn't get it done last year. He looked like a horse that probably you could go back and trip with last year as opposed to move up and trip. To my mind, the way he travelled into the race at Cheltenham last year. So yeah, certainly I think he's very short for the National Hunt Chase. That's Galvin. I would certainly be taking him on. And I think the other one that I want to mention, Andrew, is a horse that I know you mentioned as well, was Statler. in the Albert Bartlett. I just think, again, it's another race. It's a grueler, especially for a young horse. He obviously won impressive. And Glens of Antrim disappointed me today. She finished second to him last time. Her jumping was poor. Jumping was poor the last day as well. And I had my eye on her for potentially a handicap. I just don't think that's grade 1 winning form. And again, it's not the shortest price favourite to be taken on, but I certainly will be taking Statler on in an Albert Bartlett. And I can't remember the last winner of the Albert Bartlett that went off favour, and it looks like he will be up near the top of the market for that. So certainly 2 horses I'll be taking on. I think the biggest price on Statler is 12, but 5 to 1, I'd lay Statler, and I'd also lay Galvin. So both for Ronnie Bartlett. I don't think he'll be tuning into the show next week. Coming on to this week, we won't speak about this week's selection just yet. Because we're going to run through, as we do every week on the Road to Cheltenham Challenge, our selections to date. Andrew Blair-White, fire away.
Yeah, look, the book got a bit boost last week with Ellie May. Starting off, though, back in November with Nassalam at 25 to 1 for the Triumph Earl. It was a shame. I thought he might run on the weekend at Cheltenham. That race the whole card obviously got abandoned. He's into 16 to 1. Ride Receiver 25 to 1 any race. That looks a decent enough bet. Chacun Poursuit 9 to 2. Looks solid enough. Hopefully he can go and do the business in the Dublin Chase yet again. Delvino and Dusart both at 12 to 1. I'd probably throw them both out. Delvino might run in the Solarina if they, I think it's rescheduled for next Monday. She ran well in that one, Cheltenham. Brave Man's Game at 16 to 1. I think that's a very, very decent price. He's around 4 to 1 currently. Runwell Fred 10 to 1 any race. I'm glad I went any race because I'm not sure whether he's going to get into the Kim Muir now or not. I'd give him a chance wherever he goes. It came to pass 12 to 1 for the Fox Hunters. That looks a fair enough bet. As I said earlier, I wasn't overly taken by Billaway today at Nace. I thought he jumped poor. Aramax at 20 to 1 for the Grand Annual. Hopefully a Champ.ie burn up between the two JP runners in the Grand Annual, between Aramax and Antukas. And Ellie May last week at 12 to 1 in the Mare's Chase. And the one wild card I used so far, Time Hill at 5 to 1 for the Stars Hurdle. Still very happy with that. I think he's got a cracking chance.
Andrew Blair-White, great book for yourself. To be fair to you now, I think you're certainly in pole position, but they have to go and win on the track. And look, going to go through mine. Eldorado Allen, as I said, it was delighted to see him bounce back. He won't be winning any Arkle, let's face it, lads. Mac Fabulous. Looks like the entry hurdle is the plan with him. Talented horse, and a horse I like an awful lot, but won't be winning the Stairs hurdle, I would not imagine. And Appreciated 12 to 1 for the Ballymore now. We did it was an early bird Cheltenham preview show last week on the Champ.ie channel, and there was a bit of debate, and there seemed to be, I don't know. It'll all depend. If he goes straight for the Supreme, he obviously is going for the Supreme if they don't run him at the Dublin Racing Festival. But if he was to run there, maybe he got turned over. I mean, a lot of people are still not giving up on this Ballyadam. They think that back at 2 miles, Gordon's horses weren't running well. I just wonder if Appreciated was turned over. Now, it'll take a good horse to beat him. Would they consider going up in trip? I don't know. Clutching at straws, maybe. But 12 to 1 for the Ballymore, if you went for that race. 4 to 1 non-runner no bet looks a good price if you did fancy for the Ballymore, even at this stage. Champ, well named, is 12 to 1 for the Gold Cup. Mick Fitz raving about this horse on ITV. He is going apparently for the Denman. Will want to go and will want to win. Heard Nicky this morning saying that Santini, if Cheltenham don't manage to get the card on next weekend, potentially we could have a match up there. But there's no question in my mind who wins on that occasion, Champ versus Santini. You'd like to see him, but I'm quietly confident that could look like a good selection on the day, on Gold Cup Day. And Urgemeen, 10 to 1. We've done enough talking about this horse. Any race goes for the Arkle, in my view, and really serves it up to the favoured Siskin. I can never pronounce Siskin. Siskin, that's the one that won the Guineas for Ger Lions. Kescon Risk, 25 to 1 for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Another one that can't wait to see next weekend. I think on a bit of better ground, this horse, Joseph's horse, as I said, weren't running well. I'd fancy him to, put up. I think there's potential for a horse to move from a huge price in the Supreme market because Appreciate's holding up an awful lot of the book here. And if Kescon Risk ran well, I'd like to see him. obviously get an awful lot closer. Wouldn't give up on him just yet. He could move at 25 to 1. Concertista 92 rock solid for the mares. And Tukas 25 to 1 is as short as 10 to 1 in a place now for the Grand Annual. I'm happy with that. As I said, Andrew, we could have a burn up in that between Aramax and Antukas. Autumn Evening 40 to 1 for the Boodles handicap. I think he will go for the race, and I'm quietly confident about that one. Not a major market move or anything. Ramillies for the bumper. I think this could turn out to be Willie's best bumper horse. Brandy Love is one I like as well, but 14 to 1 Ramillies. When we were speaking about favourites and short price favourites, Sir Gerhard, even though I like him, was one that I certainly was going to put in the mix there, because he's very short for a champion bumper in my view. 5 to 2. It's a very short price to be taken. I think Ramillies at 14 to 1 represents good each way value. Certainly happy with that. Royal Kahala 8 to 1 for the mare's Novice. Got in her in last week. Was hoping to see her in the Sal Arena. We will see her in that, and I think she's an absolute airplane. Coming down to my Wildcards, then she wears it well. Was for the mare's Novice Hurdle. Look, she's a nice horse, but she's out, and that's sad for her. And Monkfish 3 to 1 for the RSA Chase. Don't think he'll be beaten. A Plutard is 9 to 1 for the Cheltenham Gold Cup. He was my third wild card, so no more left, Andrew, and I'm very happy with him. I think between Champ and A Plutard in the Gold Cup, I think the two of them are absolute dour stayers, and I think the two of them have class. As I said about A Plutard last week, he's the only horse in training to have beaten Chacun Poursois over a fence at 2 miles. Similar profile to sizing John. Had form at 2 miles, moved up in trip, completely unexposed over 3 miles. And I think the extra 2 furlongs in a Gold Cup is going to be absolutely no problem to him. And I hope he goes straight. 9 to 1, I think he will. 9 to 1 for the Gold Cup, I think, is great value. And I think he will start the race a lot shorter, the Savills Chase winner. That's my selections, Andrew. Let's roll the dice. I believe you might have a wild card this week.
I do indeed, Barry. I've got two to give over the next couple of weeks, but I thought with the Dublin Racing Festival in mind, I needed to get another one in. But I'll start with my normal selection for the week. As I say, both of these are very Dublin Racing Festival dependent, and I just think with the market, we were talking about the race earlier. We obviously saw the favourite last week or on Saturday in Shishkin. I'm going to give a chance to Captain Guinness in the Arkle at 20 to 1, just off the basis that I think he'll go very, very close at the Irish Arkle tomorrow or next week. And it's a value game we're living in, Barry. You know that more than anyone. I think I've just got a theory about the Irish Arkle. I've looked at the forecast. It's going to dry out at Leopardstown. The chase course at Leopardstown renownedly gets very, very good ground very quickly. If it's yielding ground, Energumene won't run in the Irish Arkle. If it's soft in the description, he will run, and he probably would beat Captain Guinness. But if he's not there, I look at the other horses ahead of him in the betting. Unaccepted, you couldn't be having, I don't think. Just one of Tipperary beginners. I know he beat Captain Guinness that day, but that was so far ago. And Tukas with a
never put into the race, jump beautifully like an airplane through the air.
And Tukas given a nondescript that day. But I couldn't be having him. Don't like the Christmas form of that Frank of the Port race. Don't think that's up to whole pile. And Andy Dufresne, I could easily take on at 2 miles. He needs a trip as well. If he goes and won an Irish Arkle, or if he came even second to Energumene again, but got closer on better ground, I don't think he's 20 to 1. I know it's a bit of a flyer. It'd be one of my more risky picks, to be honest, but he's a horse I do really, really like. And I was very taken the day that Energumene beat him at Naas, on Lawler's and Naas Day. Rachel Blackmore was being interviewed after winning on Bob Ollinger. And I think Gary put it to her whether she was a little bit disappointed by Captain Guinness. And she looked him straight in the eye and said, no, we'll take him on again on better ground and see what happens. Rachel's not the type of one to come out with those sort of bullish statements.
She's not, to be fair, but she's not. She won't beat him. But go on, continue.
You just have it in for this horse, Barry. He needs heavy ground over 2 miles, I believe. Captain Guinness Knight needs a little bit of nicer ground over 2 miles, and I think he might be able to get a lot closer. I'm not saying he could beat him, but he might get a lot closer. 20 to 1, you're looking at a decent enough each way bet. I can't have All Mankind whatsoever. And I think Bar Shishkin and Energamy in the Arc was very flimsy. So he'd be my first one. And my second one, again, going against you with a wild card. And again, it's another theory, but I'm going to put in at 3-1 Honeysuckle for the Mare's Hurdle. I think she's very opposable in the Irish Champion Hurdle next week. Wouldn't surprise me, actually, if she got turned over or if she did very similar to last year and kind of scrambled in. I don't think they'll be tempted to go to the Champion Hurdle, personally speaking. I think there's more chance of Concertista running in the race, because if San Wa disappoints again in the Champion Hurdle, you might see another Willie Mullins switcheroo with Concertista suddenly going there. I think Honeysuckle's rock solid. I can't see a mare in there that can beat her over 2.5 miles. I love Benny. If Benny ran in the race, I thought she obviously has a massive chance. But we don't know where she is, which race she's going to run in. It was too many if, buts and maybes for me. Honeysuckle, I was fooled by her last year. I went against her. I think she'll run in the Mare's Hurdle again at a 3-1. I'm putting her in as my second wild card.
This is going to be one of the biggest debates now, especially underneath. And lads, get stuck in the comments. Let us know who you agree with, because there was a good bit of banter now on those Cheltenham preview videos that we put up last week. But on the Honeysuckle concert, I can see this developing into one of the biggest debates now over the next week or so. But in my view, if she can't beat Sharjah, Aspire Tower, the likes of them around Leopardstown over 2 miles, she won't be beating Concertista. But look, that's if she turned up there. I do see her logic, and especially about Captain Guinness. Look, you have a theory that he is going to be better on better ground. I wouldn't knock you, Andrew. I think, look, I do think that Energamy, look, it would be better for him. Whether they won't run or not, if Sofkin was in the description, I'm not too sure at Leopardstown. But in terms of taking on Shishkin, I would like to see soft in the description, to be fair. But Captain Guinness, you've liked him for a long time. But nice to see you getting 2 selections in there, especially as we ratchet up before the Dublin Racing Festival. Just a shout out as well. I couldn't help myself the other day when Shishkin went and won. I with my hand, I was hovering over Twitter. Will I tweet? And urging me and gives him all he wants of it. Bob Fagan comes in, who owns, of course, Darver Star, with a picture of Darver Star. So does he go for the Irish Article? What sort of performance can Darver Star put up? Best of luck to the connections there of Darver Star. But I have no wild cards left, so unfortunately I just have to give one selection this week. And it's coming in my second horse at the Supreme Novices, and I think there's value in the Supreme still. I think Third Time Lucky is my selection. I'm going for him each way. He has a lovely profile for the race, and I like what the Skeletons have done. They've gotten quite a few runs into the horse, and I think that's vital for the Supreme. If you look back at the history of winners over the last, I would say, 10 to 20 years, a lot of them have had quite a few runs over hurdles. He was fourth, obviously, in the Champion Bumper last year. He's a horse that has a good bit of class. They are looking forward to going over fences with him next year, but I think he can run a huge race in the Supreme. And I'm not saying, look, it's a value thing again, and I think 16-1 available with 2 firms now. He was in the Betfair, so they've decided to go against the Betfair now, and they've scratched him from that, and they're sending him up to Musselburgh on better ground. I think that is the key to him. I think if it came up good to soft, that's ideal for him. And look, obviously he was beaten by Appreciated in the Champion Bumper last year, but I think he ticks a lot of boxes. His time figure was good from Kempton. He seems to be a horse that's been progressing. He hasn't won a graded novice hurdle, which that would be a negative for him. That was one of the boxes that he hasn't ticked for the race. But he's going to up to Musselburgh for Scottish Trials Day. I can't see that being any trouble to him going up there. I think he will win. I think he will contract in price, and at 16-1. The one thing I would say about him is they've learned an awful lot with him over the 4 runs. They thought he was a horse that would have to come from far off the pace. The last day, he settled a lot better, but he's a strong traveller, and I think a fast run Supreme is going to be right up his street. And I could see him running a huge race in the Supreme. And of the ones that are, I suppose, below Appreciated in the market, he was the one that I certainly was very interested in. And he's my selection for week 12 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. So we're getting the big prices in there, Andrew, and we're still encouraging people to get in below. And in terms of the Dublin Racing Festival, we want to see people's selections for that, because this is going to play a big part, especially from the Irish side of things.
Yeah, exactly. Look, the Dublin Racing Festival is a brilliant spot to get clues in, and we want to see people's thoughts for both the Dublin Racing Festival and Cheltenham. But you mentioned earlier with Statler in the Albert Bartlett, like we'll learn an awful lot about the Albert Bartlett in the Nathaniel Lacey race. Obviously, latest exhibition, won it last year, beating Fury Road back into fourth. They were second and third in the Bartlett itself. So you're going to get those types of clues with those types of horses. So I've certainly put my two selections on the line. They're both going to run at the Dublin Racing Festival. Hopefully they run the way I think they might, and those two selections can hold up. But I'd really want to see what all the guys down below have to say about it as well.
You know, in terms of the horses that we're going to learn an awful lot about, what horse are you looking forward to learning the most about at the Dublin Racing Festival?
I think just from a short-term and a long-term perspective, I think the Grade 2 bumper on the Saturday looks an absolute burn-up of a race. I'd be fascinated to see all of them turn up and see where the pecking order is. You've got Sir Gerhard in there. You've got Ramillies, Kilcrude. I don't know how many Mullins will run in the race. You've Chemical Energy in there as well, who's a very good horse. I think it's an absolutely fascinating clash. And I know that's not a singular horse, but there's 4 or 5 of them in there that have all looked like seriously good horses going forward. I remember the race a couple of years ago when MYLN won it and Abacadabras was in behind and Meticulous and stuff like that. That looked a strong race, and this one looks no different. And hopefully it will tell us a fair bit in terms of what to expect for the champion bumper, but also maybe going forward for novice hurdles and novice chases in years to come. Yeah,
I think Zana here was one that I just can't wait. I mean, people were speaking in the comments below the Cheltenham preview videos, the Triumph video, that is he the next O'Connor? Zana here to me is an absolutely nothing wrong. He's a perfect profile again for the Triumph. You know, he's won over at 1:04 on the flat. You know, his jumping is excellent and he's lightly raced on the flat. And he's a big sort of a horse as well that, you know, you could see he's going to grow into his form. He's going to improve, I think, as the season goes on. Sometimes with juveniles, we don't really know will they hold their form from, you know, the likes of the Bar 1 meeting at Fairyhouse right the way through. I think this fella could be a superstar in this division. The other one, Andrew, that I'm very keen to see, and I see there's money for him in Natalia Lacey, is Gaillard du Mesnil. Look, I couldn't be putting him up. I know a couple of other people have put him up on other shows. You know, especially just after winning a maiden, you're just going, a lot of it is on the, you know, the visual impression. The one thing I would say is the form has worked out today. You know, was it Mr. Incredible? Andrew Blair-White has won. So, but it's interesting that the money has come for him, and maybe Statler's took a bit of a drift, and I would have thought that this was the ideal race for Statler if he was going to be an Albert Bartlett type. But Gaillard du Mesnil, he looked very impressive. Again, it was only a maiden, but I can't wait to see him move up into graded company at the Dublin Racing Festival. It'll be very interesting to see that indeed. But Andrew, that concludes week 12 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge, and I want to wish you the best of luck over the Dublin Racing Festival. It's going to be a different one this year.
Yeah, exactly. It's very disappointing not to be up there. Obviously, I'm only a stone's throw away from the track, so it is disappointing, but glad it's on. Such good racing, such good entries, and hopefully the racing delivers on the promise. And we'll be here next Monday, either holding my head in my hands with Captain Guinness or Honeysuckle, or maybe thinking that I've got it right with those two. So fingers crossed they can all perform the way we hope, and we can get some clashes.
If you haven't liked or subscribed to the channel, please do so. We're absolutely delighted with the reaction to this show on the Monday, and we've another couple of weeks left before Cheltenham. Andrew, we'll let you back to your romantic weekend, what's left of it, and you're in a different location today. Best of luck to you.